Welcome back, everybody, to this episode of the Open Concept Podcast, where we are breaking down unnecessary walls and barriers that stand in the way of greatness. Our guest today, Sam, so great to have you here. You're in Whistler, you're not in Toronto, so you can confidently compliment people on their shoes and their day and know that the impression that you're going to get back is not crazy people like we were talking about offline. Very happy to have you here. And Sam, founder of Assist Her, virtual assistants, local virtual assistants, helping business owners and people in general scale and get clarity on some of the chaos, and formal strength trainer, which I just found out not too long ago as well. So training those Olympic athletes and NHL players. Really looking forward to getting your story. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank
For
you.
everybody that doesn't know who you are, why don't you tell us a little bit of a backstory about yourself?
Yeah, I'm Sam, and thanks, Brandon, for having me on. This is awesome. Yeah, so my name's Sam. I'm in Whistler, not Toronto, as Brandon said. From Toronto, moved here about 6 years ago, and yeah, my journey, I guess. I'm a virtual assistant right now. I have a virtual assistant agency. And before, my past life was in kinesiology. And I transitioned into strength training. And as you said before, yes, we're definitely dabbled into the Olympian and the NHL trainings, but was more on those athletes that were, getting into that level of caliber. Regardless, transitioned out of that whole strength training zone, was just a bit burnt out for that. I wanted to make sure that I still had some love for fitness and working out. So I transitioned out of that, went into the business side of things, found out that I really love business and business management. And so when I moved out west, I started my own virtual assistant company. Can dive more into that, what that looked like, but we're 6 years strong. Right now, have about 25 team members that work with us, all in Canada, and we work with global team members. So pretty much right now, 50% Canadian, 50% American, but it's fantastic. Yeah, really getting to meet a lot of people, learn a lot of new things, which is really cool, and get into some of the same circles as you're in, for example, which is great. So meeting a whole bunch of different new people, which is just super fantastic, and I'm really excited to be here. I'm excited for whatever we end up chatting about.
Heck yeah. Well, a lot of the stuff that I do, I couldn't get that done without an assistant of my own. And I think that that's a huge barrier for a lot of people, is the idea, when I would grow up and watch TV shows and it was like, oh, somebody had, an assistant, my assistant will take care of this. My assistant will take care of this. There was always this like, hey, when am I, going to get to that level where I feel like I'm good enough to have an assistant? But what that really means is it's bringing on somebody that it can handle the tasks that you handle day to day that aren't really moving the needle and moving that forward. And I see there being a huge need for that, especially as a business owner or as an entrepreneur, because we find ourselves getting caught up in so many tasks, whether it's answering emails, whether it's planning the company Christmas party, whether it's ordering new swag or printer ink or whatever it is. We get caught up in these little tasks that can pretty quickly eat through your day.
Mm.
So I was able to see quite quickly the power that having an assistant has and the ability to really move the needle and start refocusing on some of the revenue generating tasks and leadership tasks that you as the CEO or as the owner of the company should be focusing on, and less on ordering printer ink and
Yeah,
messing around with Amazon orders and stuff like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Uh, so how did you get into this line of work? Like transitioning from strength training, moving to Whistler. You just found a need in the market, or where did this all start from?
Yeah, good question. And it's kind of funny and very random also. So when I was moving out here, let me take a couple steps back.
Take it
Growing
back.
up, my sister and I, best friends. Paige is her name. Best friends, did, more or less everything together, had a couple of businesses growing up, consignment, little online shops, things like that. And so when I moved across the country, we quickly realized we would like another connection point. Yes, we talk every single day, but we just work really well together. So we wanted another connection point. Um, so we started Assist Her together. Hence the name, little play on words there, Assist Her, a sister, kind
A
of thing like that.
sister. Yeah. Yeah.
And we really just started it as a super, super, super side business, something fun to do. Maybe spend a couple hours a month on it. We'll see how it goes. So we very, very slowly started building it. At the same time, when I had moved out to Whistler, I was working at a fitness studio in town with the goal of, this is what my life is. I'm normally into the fitness studios. I'm usually managing the fitness studios. So that's where I'm going to be going. I will eventually start managing this one. And then COVID hit. And I lost my job. Total blessing in disguise, because at that point I was able to go full on into Assist Her at that point. I got super, super lucky with the timing. Very lucky, because Whistler is a very small town. Yes, it's a worldwide tour destination, but it's very small. And so when everything went offline, no one could go anywhere. There was so many businesses, mom and pop shops, in Whistler that were, how can we keep our businesses open when we can't do anything in person? This is near impossible. And so the need skyrocketed. Started off with a couple clients, a couple people here and there that are in town. Word traveled very, very, very quickly, and it blew up completely. So yeah, total fluke for sure. I love it. I love that fluke that had happened. And then at that point, so again, it grew very quickly. And my sister was still in it at that point. We had a discussion, and she's like, I can't do this. She has a couple of children, and she has her own real estate company. So she was really, really busy, and she said, you take it, you go with it, you run with it. And so I took it and I ran with it. And 6 years later, we're growing strong. Fantastic team, fantastic people we get to work with. And as lame as this sounds, I am so excited to get to work every day. Every day is more or less a little bit different. I just get to meet so many different people and get to do so many different things. And it's just been truly a joy to work with Assist Her. We're growing. There's things coming down the pipe that I'm really excited to launch. I'm happy to chat about that. It's not a secret. But yeah, it's been quite an experience, a very different experience that I thought I was going to get moving to Whistler. Very different.
Yeah.
I thought I would be out in the world with everyone else here working at a shop or something like that, but
The Longhorn Saloon. Yeah.
yeah,
Selling
yeah,
some beers
yeah,
at the Longhorn.
exactly.
Yeah.
But no, I'm in my home, in my office for hours a day by myself. So, but I really wouldn't have it any other way. And yeah, I'm happy to dive into, any part as you need, but that's more or less the overview as to where I was and how I came to be with Assist Her.
Awesome. Yeah. You mentioned timing and COVID. I've talked to a lot of people where hindsight, like their business was, or their life was drastically, like so many people, was changed by COVID. The landscape of how they saw the world, how they worked, how they operated, all of that was changed. But kind of coming out of that fog of COVID and where things land, it really did turn out to be silver lining, or there turned out to be silver linings in COVID, during COVID, after COVID, for so many people. And I've had very similar conversations with a lot of people here on this podcast too.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people with the virtual assistants, one thing that sets you guys apart is everybody here is in Canada or the US. You're not dealing with the Philippines or South America or really overseas. So why take that approach and keep people local versus following a traditional virtual assistant path where you are dealing with a lot of people over in different countries on the other sides of the world in very different time zones? What was sort of the draw for that?
I guess there's two draws. So yeah, all of our team members, they are in Canada. They're all our Canadians. Um, so one of the draws was, how was I going to? I just was on the tip of my tongue.
Oh, so all the sorry, I misunderstood because so everybody that is working for Assist Her is Canadian, but
Hmm.
you do service kind of globally your clients all over the
Exactly.
place.
Exactly. Yeah. So all of my team members, they're in Canada. They live in Canada. They're Canadian. I have one team member who's in Mexico, but that's totally fine. It's all fine with me.
That's
She
great.
comes back and
Yeah.
forth. So one of the bigger things was, well, one, I love Canada. I love Canadians, and so I am just tickled pink that I can have Canadians all working with us. But the other one is consistency. I need to be sure that my team members are very consistent, work aside, but language, time zones, any barriers that that are Canada versus a different country, no matter where you are. I wanted to make sure that that I could plan for consistency, and make sure that the work that we were doing, the team members that I'm bringing on, the clientele that we're bringing on, we're very aware as to where my team members were coming from. That's not to say that, the other virtual assistant agencies in the world that do employ Philippines and things like that, they have a time and place. I think they're fantastic at what they do. It doesn't necessarily work for what we are doing. Um, when we are bringing someone on, we're looking to work with them long term. So while there can be a lot of virtual assistant work that's task based, one off. Okay, I don't need the same person twice. A lot of the work that we are getting, you need that same person. For example, bring in someone to work with you. The goal is to be with them forever. I've been with clients for 6 years. I have team members that have been with clients for 5, 6 years. And that's what people are looking for us for. We're not really a task based service, task based business. We can be, don't get me wrong, we absolutely can be. But that's more for longer term tasks, building a website, things like that, as opposed to, hey, can you just get me this graphic design really, really quick? We can do that again, but we're more for the relationship building. Sorry if it froze. We're here for the relationship building. We're really here for just creating that long-term impact, and having someone that's comfortable. Sorry, when you're bringing someone in, having them comfortable is a huge part of things. And we just find that if we're kind of in the similar zone, same continent area, same language, it kind of instantly brings that trust there, and that respect there. So yeah, it was a decision for sure. That was definitely a conscious decision. Will we start hiring Americans or people from the United States? Maybe. I'm not sure. But right now we are Canadian based with all of our team members. Again, clients can be anywhere. They are global. We're about 50-50 split right now. But yeah, I love my Canadians.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it's
One of the things is have outsourced projects to, on different platforms over the years through programs like Fiverr and
mhm,
Upwork. And this is for kind of, one-off quick little tasks that you need. And there's a need for that.
yeah.
And have certainly interviewed different virtual assistant firms from people that do hire over in the Philippines. And one of the things that they always say is, you know what? It's the requirement that they work on your time zones anyway, even though they are in the Philippines. It's still a requirement that they work on your time zones so it benefits you.
Hmm.
But the challenge with that or is really like I don't know what the quality of life for that person is going to be if they
Exactly.
are sleeping all day and then they're up all night and then they're working through the evening. So what is like that just to me was an immediate barrier to say, I don't think that this crazy difference in time
Yeah.
zone was going to work necessarily for what I needed. Not
Yeah,
to
like,
say
are
that
they
it's not going to
fully
work for
checked
somebody
in?
else.
Like,
Yeah,
are
exactly.
they 80% wanting to do this? Because the 20% of no is just with their environmental factors, with the time they have to get up and things like that. Yeah, it can be huge.
What are some of the barriers if somebody's inquiring about your services here or inquiring about bringing an assistant on, say for the first time,
Mhm.
right? I have an assistant now. If I was to bring one on, I understand the benefits, but for somebody that hasn't actually hired on an assistant before, what are some of the barriers that they have that they would you know, would they would have to consider, and you getting into a bit more depth before they actually pull the trigger. Why are they hesitant about hiring an assistant in the first place? Is it typically because of cost? Is it because they don't know how to onboard them properly? They don't know what sort of tasks they're going to actually be able to get them to do? What's usually going on in their mind for the first time when they're considering hiring on an assistant?
Kind of all of the above, Brendan, and then some. So usually when people are coming to us, a lot of the time they haven't had a virtual assistant, or they've had one and it hasn't worked. So they're willing to give it another shot. When so with those that have never had one before, it's trust. They're having to relinquish control to someone they have never met before. They're having to relinquish control from something they have never had to relinquish before. A lot of the time, they've built this up, their business, whatever that may be, they've built it up. They've relied on themselves, maybe a close circle of friends or, whatever that may look like. But this is their first time reaching out to get support from an external party. They may be across the world. And so just having that trust and oh my gosh, how are they going to know what I'm thinking? And how are they going to know what I want? And how can I trust them with my 17 passwords and my bank account information? I get it. That's terrifying. I had the same thing when I'm bringing team members on. When I brought on my own assistant, it was that whole trust and that control thing. Can I trust someone to act on my behalf? And I be okay with it? There's so many different things that people are hiring a virtual assistant for. They may be hiring for customer facing. They may be hiring for back end. So there's so many things that arise of the uh-ohs, what can go wrong when they're hiring someone, and they're not really looking at, okay, how can I bring this person in and trust them, and how can I switch my mindset from what can go wrong to how much better can my life be with bringing this person in. So yeah, the barriers, you see different ones, but they're all fairly common. It's that trust. It's how are you going to find the right person for me? How do you know what I want? And yeah, there may be 4 people that, are the same skill sets. How do you know that matchmaking is going to work? I have a system now. It was trial and error before, but it's definitely a system now, and I'm happy to go through it. But yeah, I would find that the biggest hesitations are that trust, and realistically, you can't gain that trust right away. You really can't. It's having that relationship with them, getting to know them a little bit more. It's just like when you start a relationship with someone. Yeah, you're interested. Yeah, you want to make this work, but you're not going to tell them your biggest, deepest secrets at the start. That comes later. It's the same with bringing someone into your work, whether they're a partner, whether they're an employee, whether they're a virtual assistant across the world. It takes some time to build that trust, and my team is super aware of that. They meet new people every day. They're bringing on new clients every single day. And so making sure that I have a team that is extremely trustworthy on my end, all of my team members, I would 1000% hands down trust them to work on anything in my business, anything.
I
And
love that.
it
And
has to be
sort of
transferable.
100%. And I think one of the barriers that people have when they're considering an assistant is they feel like they can't replicate or best represent them as a brand, as a
But
company,
we
or
don't want to.
as a person.
We want
Yeah,
to
no, fair
enhance
enough.
that. Like, you shouldn't be looking for someone to do what you're doing, because you need some more, right? And so it's funny that you say that, because yeah, sometimes people want a clone of themselves, right? But if you're getting a clone of yourself, you're not really bettering anything, or you're not really enhancing things. So yeah, of course, when you're bringing someone on, you want to, if you're bringing into your business, you want to have similar values, and do you have this mindset, and do you agree with what my work is? Absolutely. But if you have these same skill sets as you know the VA that you're hiring versus that client, if they have the same skill sets, you're not going anywhere. You're just essentially doubling the work that you were just doing instead of making moves or setting up that system that you're looking for or getting that platform launched. It's you have to hire a little bit strategically, and you kind of want someone that's different than you, because would you want to work with yourself? I never would. I
Oh
wouldn't
my
want to work
gosh.
with myself. There's no way. And so it's, yeah, people definitely, when we initially speak with someone, you get the vibe of, they're looking for someone with my same mindset and with my same tools and skill sets. Like, no, no, no. You think that, and that's totally fine, because that's such an initial thought when you're bringing someone on. But you don't want that. You want someone that has different skill sets, and you want someone that challenges your way of thinking so that you can really think outside the box, because otherwise you wouldn't be bringing someone else on. You didn't need to grow if you weren't looking to expand.
I couldn't agree more, and I think a lot of people get caught up in is this idea of I like things a certain way, so I have to do it. I have to be in control of it, versus opening that up and actually being able to lead somebody to think on your behalf and trust somebody in the responses that they're going to be giving on your behalf. And that can become a huge barrier for people, because everybody kind of thinks that they're this special person and that nobody could possibly do anything the way that they do it,
Hmm.
and that if it doesn't get, the last, if you don't have that last kind of 2% say on things before it goes out, then it can't go out. But people have a tough time, like you said, really handing over that trust,
Hmm.
and that's a really powerful thing.
Yeah, and you have to be willing to work on trust, is another thing. When you're looking to bring someone onto your team that isn't sitting beside you, or maybe they are sitting beside you, you have to build that trust, and you have to go into that relationship knowing that you don't know each other at all. And so the way that my business works in terms of finding someone is finding each other, to matchmaking, let's call it. But uh, there's
Matchmaking works. Yeah.
yeah, and we do a little bit of a different spin on it, but it's, yeah, you have, when you're looking to bring someone on to help support in your business, no matter what capacity, no matter where they are, you have to be able you have to understand that you're going to be relinquishing some control at some time. You're going to feel uncomfortable at some time. But you need to be able to put yourself in an uncomfortable position in order to be comfortable again. It goes with really everything in life, but it's huge bringing someone else onto your team that you don't know, that you've met once, that you've seen their resume and that's it, and now you're expecting them to take a chunk of your business and put not that VA stamp on it, put your name on it. That's your name, that's your stamp on it. And so yeah, it's finding that person, I think, that just clicks with you. If there's red flags, that when you're meeting with someone and you're thinking there's red flags, trust your gut, trust those flags. There's someone else that can help you, I promise. So yeah, it's, there's not only one option for you. There's not only one person. There's not only one task. It's when you're looking for support, and whether it's your first time or whether you've had 17 team members or VAs on, you have to take a chance.
There's when people talk to me about bringing on an assistant and they're looking for some feedback, generally I'll also tell them that there's a couple ways to look at it. One is you're busy and you need to offload the tasks that are on your plate currently. Or two, it's bringing somebody onto your team that you can handle to move projects forward that you've always wanted to do, but you haven't had the space to do that. So now you're creating that space, bringing somebody else on to move forward stuff that you wouldn't be able to do if you were on your own. So it's kind of handling a lot of the day-to-day stuff that's already going on in your life to free up some of the time. But it's also this idea of being able to, if you have these projects in your mind that you say, put it up on a shelf, I'll get to it at some point. That's where the assistant can jump into place, is to start moving some of these projects forward.
Yep.
And maybe it's less of handling the day to day of what it is that you're doing, but maybe it is putting into momentum these objectives that you want to that you keep putting on the back burner
Exactly.
and really getting some putting them in motion.
Exactly. It's few and far between that people are bringing a VA on just so that they can go sit on their couch, right? When people are bringing on a VA, they usually have a reason for that. So they're getting too busy and they need some support because they don't want to work 14, 16, 20 hours a day anymore. Or they're wanting to build something that they have no friggin' clue how to build. You know, it's like, hey, I want to do this, but I only know 1% of this business. I don't want to learn the 99% of the other business. I don't want to. I don't have the skill set. I don't have the time, but I know I want to do it. How do I do that? Bring someone on that can do it. It's not
Bring someone on.
only, it's not only, and yes, for sure, you're absolutely correct. It's, it's so that you can grab those projects from that shelf and really start working on things that you've wanted to do for a long time. But it's also, those wish list items of, oh my gosh, imagine if one day I could build this. I have no idea how to do that, and I don't have the skill sets to do it, but I want to offer it because I'm passionate about it. Amazing. Amazing. Bring someone in.
Unreal for people that what for people that are bringing on assistants for the first time, or they're going through this, or they're saying, hey, like it's just not working. What is making that experience sort of a failure or a big learning lesson? Like, where do people not have success or fall apart when they first start onboarding new people into this world of virtual assistants?
That's $1 million question. Um,
I know there's some mistakes that I've made for
yeah.
sure, and I know
Yes.
my own personal story, but I'm curious to hear your side of things.
There's various aspects that can go into that. Are you really ready? Are this is going to sound really lame, perhaps. Are you just being lazy? Are you
Yes,
just
sure.
wanting someone to do emails and then one day you get energized and then it's not working because you found some energy? Yeah, there's various aspects that go into it as to why it doesn't work. One of the biggest ones that I have found over the past few years is they're not ready for one. They think they are, and they may come back in 2 months and say, "Hey, I'm ready," but sometimes you're just not. Sometimes you're just not ready. Sometimes you don't, or you're unclear as to what you think you want. So a lot of people will, this is kind of quite common, and funny that you mention it. People will come to us for something specific. Hey, I'm looking to get so much marketing done. I want everyone to know my business, so I want you to go on Instagram and post 20 times a day. No problem. We can do that. I will let you know that's not going to work, but if that's what you want, no problem. I'll do that for you. And then that doesn't work. And so it come back to us and say, hey, your 20 posts a day were not working. So it's when something fails, it's not because what you're doing is wrong. It's because what you're actually looking for is something else. It's something else entirely. And so when I'm chatting with someone, we'll get a lead. Let's say a lead comes into my inbox and they want this, 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 this. I'll talk to them about that. We'll go through it. It sounds great. Okay, this is what you want. Amazing. Perfect. Let's do it. 1 month down the line, oh, this team member isn't working out for me. It's like, okay, no problem. Talk to me about it. What are you looking to do? Oh, well, they've changed their entire scope. So the client no longer wants social media. Now they need XYZ. Now they need a complete SEO overhaul. So that person that your original scope that you're looking to hire us for, that scope's gone. You're looking at a whole new scope now, and that's okay. That's okay. Sometimes it takes trial and error, and that's totally fine. And so, maybe that social media person can come in a year, but you're not ready for that yet. So you're looking for something else, and we can switch with that. Okay, social media is gone. Let's work on that SEO. We're bringing someone else in to help with your SEO. And so just finding, I guess, because let me take a step back. When you're getting busy, and maybe you can appreciate this, Brandon, maybe you've experienced this. When you're getting busy, you're like, oh my gosh, I have 17,000 things floating around my head. I know that I need all of these 17,000 things probably sorted out, probably finished. I don't even know. There's too many to think about. Let me focus on this one. Let me focus on this one that I think I can get done, or I think that this is what's, a part of what's stopping my business. Great. you put on that and you put that into my lead form, and I want this because I think this is what's going to help my brain. 2 months later, it might not be helping your brain because you've realized that you really need something else. And that is such an eye-opening and positive experience that, maybe they're not even going to go with us after this because they realize they need to do something else. That is so okay. It's being able, like on the client end, it really opens up their eyes when they're speaking with someone else, of, hey, have you looked at, maybe you should try this. It just opens up your eyes to something else when something doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? There's obviously a reason as to why it doesn't work. And most of the time, why something isn't working, why a virtual assistant isn't working for you, it's because what you communicated that you were looking for, or what you think you were looking for, isn't what you really need. And so that brings on frustration, right? It's because, I thought that my day was going to get so much lighter if you did this. It's like, maybe we need to look at something else. And so it's just sometimes the biggest trick, the trick of it is really finding what you really need help with, not what you think you need help with.
Getting some clarity on,
Yeah.
and being very clear on what that is.
Yeah, and I've had so many calls with people of, okay, well, what do I need help with? They've asked me, what do I need help with? I don't live in your brain. I'm not too sure what you need help with. And so one of the tools that
What would you
sorry, go ahead.
No, 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 please, you.
One of the tools that I recommend to people is, if you are unsure of what you need help with, but you need help because you're struggling, get a notebook, get your phone out, whatever you have that you will diligently put in. When you have those moments of, oh my gosh, this is horrible, or I know for sure I don't need to do this, write it down. Write it down, because you look at your notebook at the end of the week and you're like, oh my gosh, I can offload all of this, and I didn't know that I could offload all of this, because you're getting so, like, the world is busy, the brain is busy, everything is so overloaded these days that you're not going to remember the 20 things an hour ago that were dragging you down. Put it down on paper, put it down on a notepad.
One of the most powerful things that I did was a time and energy audit. And that was literally taking a notebook down, and it was every single task that I was doing. I was very, very diligent about it. I just said, for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to write down everything that I'm doing, like every single task that comes up, whether it's, if it's going to be answering emails, whether it's going to be making an Instagram post, whether it's going to be, walking and getting lunch for the team, whether it's going to be, ordering that printer ink that we're talking about,
Yeah.
whatever that was, writing it down, and then pretty quickly, it doesn't take an entire 2 weeks. Quite often, you'll find within 5 or 6 days, these kind of repeat tasks, you're like, okay, I see like a pattern here of things that we can accomplish, things that I
Yeah.
could offload.
And do you need a master list to be able to be ready to hire a VA? No, certainly not. Just having a bit of a general idea as to where you think someone could be in. Are you wanting a creative? Are you wanting someone to really work on the front of your business and make it look better and make it flow better, and make your social look pretty, your website look pretty, and make you findable on Google? Is that what you're looking for, or are you looking for help with processes? That can include your inbox management. That can include your day to day, making your operations just more seamless. That's another barrier that comes up, but that's kind of a self-induced barrier, is thinking that you need to be able to explain very specific tasks that need to be done. That's not true. It's just having a more or less a general idea of what direction are you really wanting to bring support in that's going to help you. Are you wanting to stay on the creative side of your business because you really love the creative side? That makes sense. That's okay. So maybe you want to bring someone in for the processes side to free up that time so you can focus on the creative. Vice versa. Some people are like, I don't even know how to draw a stick figure in Canva, and here I am trying to build my website. It's been 7 years. We hear that a lot. So, let's bring in the creatives.
Would you say that, and again, I think for somebody that's looking to bring on an assistant, it may not be one thing. It may not be just for marketing. It may not be just for process management. It may not just be for Instagram posts or social media. right? And maybe you may need a Swiss Army knife
Hmm.
of skill
Yeah.
sets that you're bringing on, because one day it's going to be answering emails. Number two, it's going to be organizing your operating procedures and reformatting things.
Yep.
Number two, it might be getting the company Christmas party scheduled, and then it might be making an Instagram post, and then it might be like, oh, can
Yeah.
we actually, like, what do you know about YouTube SEO?
Yeah.
Can you look into that and start uploading and deploying that and doing a better job at that?
Hmm.
But that's that is a wide variety of different tasks that arguably require very different skill sets.
Hmm.
So how would you manage something like that? If is that like a really common thing, that there's a huge variety of tasks, and is that right to bring on an assistant that can help cover all of those tasks, or are they going to be doing sort of a half-assed job of everything, versus bringing in somebody that's very specialized in just process documentation,
Hmm.
or just marketing? What would you say would be the best course of action if you sort of have this whole variety of things you need to get off your plate,
Hmm.
but only room for one team member to bring on right now?
Yeah, that happens all the time. So there's a couple different ways you can approach that. It There is no black and white support. There is no black and white support, because if you're looking at updating your website, yeah, fantastic. That's typically a creative side that you're looking for. But what about the processes that go along with it? Is that an EA? Is that operations? Is that creative? We're not sure. So with Assist Her, I'll just give you an example with my business. So with Assist Her, we have our executive assistants of the world, we have our creatives of the world, and we have our all-encompassing team members that can do anything and everything. So there are, and how do you get to choose between where do you put them? It's super, super, super based off what that client wants. So if I'm going into a meeting, initially with someone, just understanding as to what they're wanting to do, I get a really good idea as to if they're looking for an all-encompassing or if they're looking for one or the other. Let's say that you want an assistant and you need a creative. Fantastic, sounds great. You're set up with your creative, perfect. Here we go. 3 months down the line, you're like, hey Sam, my creative's fantastic. However, I need them to start managing my inbox, and they aren't good at that, and they don't want to do that because that's not their specialty. Great, that's okay, no problem. We can bring someone else on if you want for that. And do some people not want to have 17 team members that they are communicating with, telling them the scope? Of course not. That adds way more time to your plate. If you want to bring on 3 virtual assistants, fantastic, but you don't want to have to manage 3 more people, that's okay. We've got that covered as well. So how we like to do that is we bring one person on, or bring someone on. That's your team member. That's your go-to. You tell anything you want, you go to that person. If there is something they cannot do scope-wise, whether it's budget-wise, scope, time, whatever that may look like, our team is super close-knit. I bring on I'm very specific when I'm bringing people on for specific niches, and so this gets communicated with everyone. If there's something your team member cannot do, they're not going to spend your time and money trying to do that. That's on their own time. And do I do paid things? For sure. But that's on their own time. You're not a guinea pig. Your business is not a guinea pig. So we can bring in the best of the best to help support with that. So let's say you have your creative or your admin, and we need someone to help with the website because it's not working or you need something changed. No problem. We can bring someone else in from the team. That client, we can tell them, but they never have to talk to that person if they don't want to. We of course make sure that's okay before they come in, but all that to say is we can bring someone else in to do the best of the best that they're looking for and go back out. So it's essentially a one-stop shop. Are they paying for 2 different team members for the same amount of time? No, they're only paying for the scope that they're doing. And that initial EA is not touching that website, I can promise you. And that creative is not going into the inbox, I can promise you. So there's no double ups that's happening. But essentially, the work that we are providing, we pride ourselves on super high quality work. And so if there is something that we cannot do at our standard, we're not going to do it. We're not going to fake it. We will learn how to do it on our own time, but we're going to be bringing in the best of the best from the team that can help get that task done, right on time, exactly how they're wanting it. without having to do it yourself, outsource somewhere else, try and get that team member to do it. So yes, some people are looking for just that one person, that's all they need, but sometimes later on down the line they're needing something else, or right away they're needing something else. I have quite a few clients that are, I have 2, 3, 4 team members that work with them because they're needing so many different areas of support, and they like the flexibility of having a virtual assistant as opposed to a full-time employee, and they're getting the best of the best for every area they're wanting because each team member has a different specialty, and they're not making it up as they go along. If they're needing something, they will ask a team member specifically, hey, can you tell me how to do this, or can you do this for me? Hey, I'm doing a website. I'm not a coder, but can one of our coders come in and do that? Of course. Of course.
Yeah.
We work as a team. We work individually. Do not get me wrong. We work very individually for clients, but we work as a team, and it just works so well. I'll get invoices at the end of the month, and they'll be like 6 people touching this one project because this person's doing the SEO on that. This person's doing the copy for it. This person's doing, and the client doesn't know. Like they of course have approved us going in there, but they
Yeah.
don't know who's touching what, and they see the end product and they're like, oh my gosh, okay, this is great. And it's just a very well-oiled machine. It works really, really well. Our team members know their strengths, they know their weaknesses, and they're not scared to ask for help. So when someone's coming to us and they don't really know, okay, I don't know what kind of team member I need, this is where my experience comes in, and this is where I can talk people through it. It's like, we've been doing this for 6 years. I get it. It's scary for you, but we got you.
How do you go on about hiring the best of the best? Because you mentioned bringing on the best of the best, and that's sort of what people are hoping for when they're going and bringing on an assistant.
Yeah.
And they're going to be hiring somebody that they can trust, that's been vetted, that they can hand over their work, and essentially it's going to be a bit of a done for you process. But how do you at a sister bring in and start recruiting real top talent to make sure that your customers, they have some longevity behind the assistants that they're bringing on, to make sure that their values are going to be aligned so that you can offer that level of trust that you and I are talking about here today?
Yeah. So in terms of my hiring process, maybe a bit unique. I don't put up job postings. I don't headhunt. I don't look for people. And the reason why I say that is because we get probably 20 to 30 applications a day right
Oh,
now,
wow.
maybe 10, 20 a day, for people to work with us. The world has changed in terms of what people want to do and how they want to live their life. And so the candidates that we have been getting are pretty incredible. So do I, I'm extremely picky with who I bring on. Even before I meet with someone or I interview them, I pass them over to my two executives assistants, and I say, what do you think? If there's any weird gut feelings, if they're like, sorry, I can't move forward with that.
Yeah.
So the people that are applying to us, let me go about this a different way. Who I like to bring on, because of the caliber of work and the caliber of clientele that we are getting, I can't have the greens. I can't have someone who's just trying to be a virtual assistant. So those that are successful candidates for Assist Her, they've left their job, they've left corporate, they've been doing this for a few years and they truly love it. This is what they want to do for quite a few years. They've had their own business for 10, 15 years, and they're really just looking for some different kind of clientele that to bring onto their roster. So I'm lucky, I guess, in the sense that my team members more or less come to me to hire without me putting out any postings. And so I'm just extremely, extremely picky and extremely diligent in terms of who I want to bring on. So
It's
if
pretty
they're,
incredible, by the way, to
thank
have.
you.
Sorry to interrupt you, but it is pretty incredible if you're getting that many applications to come and work for you a day.
There's
It
a
either
lot.
says there's something really different going on in the world, or it's a true accolade to the business that you're running, because it's becoming a really attractive place for a lot of people to want to work. So I mean, that's huge. That's amazing.
I mean, 90% of those I won't look at twice. But the 10% are 10% I want to look at. They're professionals. The clients that are coming to us, they're not looking to pay $15 an hour for an admin. They're not. If I told them that my rates were 15, they would go somewhere else. So the the people that we bring on, again, I'm super picky. I'm super picky with that, and I'm very picky with how I interview. They can be a little bit of a long process. So one of my one of my biggest things with hiring is I want to make sure that that team member wants to work with us. I'm not chasing them. I want them to work with us, and I want them to show us that they want to work with us. Do I have 17,000 things I'm getting them to do? Certainly not. But when you're applying on the website, yes, you have to submit things, and then there's an extra step. Answer these questions if you're in this, or if you're in this, answer these questions. And so those things are just really big indicators as to, are they wanting to go that extra, not that I'm asking them to put 17 hours into an application, I'm truly not, but are they willing to go that extra mile to get what they want? Are they going to be willing to put in some time for the betterment of themselves and for the betterment of their career? That's what I'm looking for. I don't really care what your scope was of your job 10 years ago. I really don't care. I want to know how you tick. I want to know what gets you out of bed in the morning. What do you like to do outside of work? Your skill sets are great. I can see that on paper, fantastic, and we'll get into that later on. But the personality is just so huge, because you're having to connect with these people from across the world, and if they don't like you within that interview process, you're done right away. And so the people that are truly looking to be a part of the online world, or be a part of the remote world, or a virtual assistant, you can tell. You can tell if they're ready, if they're willing. You have to be a self-starter. You have to be a self-motivator. I'm a very hands-off manager. And so if you're not getting things done without me asking 17 times, this isn't going to work. I need you to be 10 steps ahead of me.
Yeah, 100%. What is the most, I guess, successful way? Like, if we're looking at, 30 days in, 60 days in, 90 days in, to make sure that this is working, if you are bringing on an assistant for those, those first early months, to make sure that they are really set up for success, and then therefore, as a byproduct, you being successful in this process, what are like some of the key really important things, or the non-negotiable things, that you, as the business owner, or as the person hiring the assistant, really should be doing? Or is that like really up to the assistant to say, hey, I don't know what I'm doing here, can you build me out a 30, 60, 90-day plan as far as what you need? What does that look like for that person that is hiring on an assistant, to make sure that this process is in fact going to be really successful?
Mm-hmm. There's a couple of things that play into that. On the business side of things, on the business owner side of things, sorry, you have to be willing to bring someone on. You have to be willing to work with someone to really tell them who you are, tell them what your brand is, and tell them what you're looking to get out of it. Because when you're coming to us, a lot of the time you're already so behind. And so for us to try and catch up on who you are and what you're doing by going on your online presence, or going on what have you, that is usually so out of date. And so being able to really get through who you are, what you want, or what you kind of want to happen if you're not really sure. Just having some clarity, I think, from the business owner is really, really important, to know, are you even ready for this? Do you know what you want? Do you have XYZ in your head and you just want it out there? Or you really want someone to help work with you on things? Fantastic. Or are you looking to bring someone on, to say you have an assistant? Are you looking to bring someone on because you don't want to do that and you'd rather go do something else? That's a bit of a different mindset than bringing someone else on to help support you moving forward and building that business. On the team member side, in order to be successful, right off the start, is you have to listen. You have to listen. You may have your own thoughts on what you should be doing. You may have your own thoughts after looking at this person's whatever pamphlets, website, for what they do and what you think that they should be doing moving forward. You cannot have that preconception going into that meeting because they may go some totally opposite direction and then it might throw you off. So just really listening, truly listening to, maybe not necessarily the words, but what is the message they're trying to get to you? That's so important at the start to really get an initial base of, okay, the client says, yes, that person is listening. And the VA says, I understand what they're looking for. So just having that initial candidness and responsibility of trying to understand what each other are saying is really, really big. One thing that we do right at the start of a relationship and right at the start of a client relationship, we've been doing this more and more lately, and it works quite well, is having that initial onboarding meeting. Yeah, fantastic. And then the team member takes that away and builds their plan, whether it's an executive assistant role or a creative role, whatever that may look like. What did you get out of that conversation? And what do you think that client wants? Putting that into your own words, because your own words is going to be your own work at some point. And so making sure that you have hit it, or, and so once you do that, communicating that with that client is also huge. It's like, hey, this is what I got from this call. This is what I'm thinking would be a great step moving forward. This is what I think we could do. Does this resonate with you, or am I totally off the mark? 99.9% of the time we hit the nail on the head. There is that 1% where we don't nail it. And whose fault is that? No one's, because as we were talking about before, sometimes someone doesn't know what they want and they're not ready. And so them not being able to communicate what they want is a major issue, because when we're trying to we're like, okay, what do they want? They're jumping
Yeah.
around a lot. Okay, we think we want this. And then we bring them something. They're like, no, that's not working. There's no way. And you're like, okay, there may be another issue going on here. So yeah, just, understanding each other, is imperative at the start. And being willing to understand each other is also huge.
One of my experiences bringing on a virtual assistant in the past was that there was an understanding that there was going to be some sort of support from the firm that had brought them on from, and and there really wasn't the level of support for that person, for that assistant, that I thought was going to be there. So if there was something that was going wrong, there wasn't check-ins that were happening. There wasn't really a way to check and see if that person was in fact continuing to support their clients. And there really wasn't much of an onboarding process from the firm that had hired on the agency that had hired on the assistants. And I think from the assistant's point of view, when they had joined that agency, they also had an understanding that there was going to be some more onboarding so that they were set up for success. But they were kind of brought into this ecosystem and weren't really provided a lot of training. It was sort of a one-day crash course. Hey, this is what we do now. Hey, get out there and just start working. And as a client, you can really feel that when somebody isn't vetted and they're not speaking your language, just, figurative language. But when you are handing them over tasks and you feel like they should know something, or they should already be kind of set up to have an understanding of these steps. And when you're speaking technical language, have if we're talking about operating procedures, they know what those are. Like, they should understand what an end of day report is. They should have the basic understanding of business language down. So when you speak to them, there isn't this big barrier of, I just don't understand. Can you reteach me all of this? And so there wasn't that level of onboarding and training from the agency. Now, how would you go about if you were talking to a client and somebody asks you that question? How do we know that these people are going to be right for me? And what can we put in place? Like, how do I know that I'm going to have the support from your agency specifically to know that these people, when they come on, are given the best shot of making sure that what I'm asking them to do is going to be successful?
I think that bringing on, a VA versus hiring someone in person at your shop, let's say, it's the same. It's a similar aspect. Yeah, you've seen their resume. Yeah, you've spoken with them 7 times. Yes, you have done their reference checks. But there's still always that question mark, right, in the back of your head as to, is this person the best fit? Is this person best fit for me? Are they the best fit for these clients? So there has to be some kind of element of, yeah, let's give this a go. For sure in the hiring process and matching them with the team member. But in terms of support and, getting started with the client, or even just finding that right person, how do I find that right person? And then how do I go into the support? So we have a system for that. When you hire someone, I'll go into the hiring process first or after, but when you're bringing someone onto the team, we have some team members, Montana and Annie, on my team, who they're there for anything and everything. They are so fantastic with my operations. It's just so great. And so when, it's in order for your client to be supported, your team member needs to be supported as well. And I think that's super important. So, as I mentioned before, we absolutely have the backing of the whole team, right? That helps support them. However, at the start, it's imperative that the team member is comfortable with going into this work with you. And, there needs to be some kind of onboarding process to make sure that it's going to, that the choice you made is going to be a good pick for you. So one, we have a team member that really, when we're bringing on even a new team member, we have Montana, my assistant. She will help. She's there for any step of the way. I'm there for any step of the way. We do, of course, onboarding training meetings with every single new team member that comes on. When it comes to bringing on a new client with the team member, we more or less do the same thing. We have a couple onboarding documents that we send to them. So we'll send one to them and say, hey, this is what you can expect from us over the next little bit to get us used to your business, and so that we can really dive in and jump. And there are going to be things that we need from you. For it to be a working relationship, both parties need to be willing to put in some time and effort at the start in order for it to be a positive, seamless relationship. And a lot of the time, clients don't really think that. They think that, okay, I'm bringing someone on, they should just know this. Yeah, we know the tools. Yeah, we know how to work that for sure. But how do we work that for what you're wanting it to be? Because we can make it generic, but that's silly. Why would you hire us to do something generic? So, we have these onboarding meetings that we have. As soon as you say, yep, I want to work with that person, fantastic. You're going to get this email with these 2 documents. We're going to be booking an onboarding meeting so we can go through all of these documents, so that 3 months down the line, you're not getting I didn't get that SOP. I have no idea what you're talking about. That's already nipped in the butt 3 months ago, because we went through this onboarding document with you. And it kind of pulls out the areas that you don't touch on, the invisible areas, the gray areas. It touches on those, and you're discussing it right off the bat. And so if there's any gray area, or the client is like, oh my gosh, like they don't know what that platform is, fantastic that we found that out in the onboarding meeting. This is great. Now let's talk to someone else.
Yeah.
So yeah, having structure and making sure that everyone is on the same page right off the bat, huge. And with that, you need to find the right team member, right? So before that even happens, virtual assistants, yeah, matchmaking, that's the magic term that people say, oh, let's matchmake. Can you match me with someone? Yeah, we can. However, it's a little bit different of a process for us compared to some others. And what I mean by that is I put a couple extra steps into it because I think that it's important for everyone to feel comfortable. And what I mean by that is, when I'm meeting with someone who's looking to bring on a VA to their work, I of course write notes, everything's great. At the end of the call, I will have a very good idea as to who I think would be a good person to match them with. At that call, I go to my team members, very specific team members, and I say, hey, this is the scope. I think you'd be a great fit. There may be 2 people, there may be 10, depending on what that scope is. And so I'll ask that team member, are you interested in this scope? If so, let me know. I will always ask my team member first before I put their name into this client, because what happens if they don't want to do that? What happens if they're going away next month and they just can't take on another client? What happens if they're full of the capacity, and so I put their name in the hat and someone wants to meet with them, and then I have to go back and say, "Ooh, sorry, they're not available." Not okay. And so I make sure that I get the thumbs up from my team members. I pass all the team members that are wanting to work with this person over to that client. They go through their bios. Their bios are all written individually from the team members. I think it's
Yeah.
important it comes from their mouth.
Well, they're
For
written individually from the team members.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
write their bios. I think it's
Yeah.
important that they tell me, what do you want to be known for?
I
What
love
are
that.
your specialties? I think it's important. And so I pass those over to that client, and they can pick and choose who they want to interview, essentially. And then from there, they can find a person. Because, when someone's looking for something, typically the team members that I'm sending over to them as to look through, they all have very similar skill sets on paper, but their personalities are just so different. And so it's super important to be able to meet with these team members that have very similar skill sets, but their personalities differ, because you and we may not get along. We may not get along, but I know that I'll be able to do good work for you. So it's just making sure that you get on with that person is a huge part of the process. Instead of being like, oh gosh, who are they going to pick for me? It's like, no, you get to pick. You get to pick who you want to work with, and so do the team members. Because maybe they met with you and they're like, ooh, I don't know. I didn't really catch good vibes from that person. That's no problem. You don't have to work with them. I never force my team members or any clients to work with certain people, ever. If they say that's not going to work for them, that's fine. That's fine. There will be something else.
How many of your staff, or how many people do you have that are working full time specifically for a company or with an individual, versus how many sort of part-time projects do you have, and what is the sort of the split of requests that you get? Because if I'm hiring somebody onto our team, and I'm looking to bring on somebody full time, I want to know that they're going to be dedicated to us and the company, and that they're not working with other companies and getting their processes and procedures mixed up with ours, or forgetting passwords and kind of jumping back and forth between different companies. But also, I realize that not everybody has a bandwidth to bring on a full-time assistant, and maybe they need them for a day a week or 24 hours a week or whatever that is. But if somebody is coming on and they are working for your team, personally, I kind of want to know that they're here for the team, and that they're not out there, necessarily working for a competitor, or they're taking that information and using it somewhere else to, kind of benefit them versus the company. And there's sort of a lot of nuances here that have all, questions that have all gone through my mind in the past, as far as what I wanted when I'm looking for an assistant as well. But what would you say, like, most of your clients are looking for? Are they looking for, a few hours here and there? Or is it sort of right across the board? Or are most people looking for that executive assistant that's working with them for 40 hours a week, that is another bolt-on employee, staff member to their company?
Um, I don't think I have any team members working full time for a client. The reason why I say that is, typically it's cheaper to hire a full time person outside of outside of virtual assistant. It just really is. Depending on what you're looking for, of course. And I know that's a really silly thing to say, but it's just obvious. And so no, we don't have any team member working full time for someone. I would say right now, our team members probably work anywhere with 3 people to 15 people. There are some clients, absolutely, that are looking for part-time work or more than part-time work. And then the other clients, they just fit, it's just their need is less. So it works very well with that. In terms of, confidentiality, how do I know that you're not copying this idea from another client because you both work in the same realm? I deal with that ahead of time. So when we're bringing someone on that's looking, okay, let's say someone's working with a client and they're working at a yoga business. They're working for a yoga client. And then we bring on another yoga client. And I think that they would both, that person would be a great fit for them, not because they know yoga, but because just of the scope that they're looking for. I always, always, always will ask that client right at the start. I say, hey, I have a couple of team members that would be very well suited for this role. However, they also work with yoga clients. Are you comfortable with that, or would you prefer something else? So I give them the choice right away, right away. And that pretty much just nips that in the butt right away. In terms of confidentiality, obviously we have contracts. We sign NDAs out the wazoo with sensitive information that we deal with. I think that more or less comes down to the people that you're hiring, because yes, you can get them to sign 1,000 different contracts. Will some people still go behind your back and do things? Yeah, yeah. So that's
Human
the
nature.
magic of hiring is, you need to make sure you're bringing someone on that you can trust, and that their capabilities are such that they're such that they won't just copy one idea from the other, because their morals won't let that happen. Their creativity won't let that happen. They know that while they both be both yoga businesses, their need and their scope and their audience is just so different. So yeah, some things may look very similar on paper, and I get your question, and I get why people are wondering that as well. But just because we're working in a yoga business doesn't mean that it's the same as yours. It really isn't, and that client really wants it to be different. And so they're just, there hasn't ever been that issue, because we mitigate it right at the start. It's like, hey, I'm extremely transparent with everyone, because I have to be, because I work virtually, and because I'm introducing them to team members that they will never ever meet in person.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. Well, Sam, thank you so much. Like, you can tell by just, the way you talk, how passionate you are. You talk with love and passion and conviction for what you
Brandon.
do, and you mentioned a number of times, like, you're bringing on the best of the best, and you can tell how much you truly think and feel about the people that are working with you, and helping your clients become more and more successful at what they do, and it really means a lot. Sam, where can people find you if they want to know
Yeah.
more about your services and about what it is that you offer?
Yeah, absolutely. You can head to my website. Has my links on there as well. But website is www.assist-her.com. So, well, I'm sure they'll be somewhere, but assist-her.com. And then Instagram is just the same, assist her. Keep an eye out, because we are launching Assist Him. In the
Assist
next,
him. Oh, you mentioned something earlier, alluding something earlier in the podcast, which you
yeah,
said you could talk about. Is this
yeah,
is this the thing? Is this
yeah.
what we're
So
talking about?
we're launching
What's the
Assist Him.
difference? Yeah, tell us about that.
More or less the same. However, in the past few years, I've completely realized that Assist Her is a big deterrent for male business owners. Probably a third of our clientele are male business owners. I don't think anyone realized that. And so it's the same. It's more or less the same. I'm going to pick and choose specific people to be working with Assist Him. But it's so that we can attract the male clientele, because right now our messaging is not, and I want people to know that we can work with males for sure. And so it was just a silly decision to make, and the people that I have told, it's like, of course you should do this, of course, because some male business owners would say, I would never go to your website ever. And when I've landed on your website, I'm deterred because it's Assist Her, which is completely fair. So yeah, so we're launching Assist Him. In the next couple of weeks, that'll be live, and I'm super excited to meet some more clientele with that.
Cool. So let's be clear, because we're hearing it here. Assist Her is not just for female business owners or
Correct.
female entrepreneurs. It is both for male
Yeah.
entrepreneurs as well. But Assist Him, kind of rebranding,
Hmm.
re-navigating that narrative a little bit.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Same work.
Hey, thank you so much for being here.
Woo-hoo.
Really, really appreciate all of your time, and just breaking down some of those barriers that people may have when it comes to considering bringing on a team member,
It's a big
especially a
decision.
virtual team member, because that can be sort of a weird thing for a lot of people, and it's a different experience than what a lot of people think it is going to be. So appreciate you breaking that down so diligently for us today.
Thank you. It's been awesome. It's really nice to chat through this because sometimes you don't get to chat through it all again, and now you wonder why you're doing it again. It was really really nice. It's a refreshing conversation, Brandon, and thanks again for inviting me.
Thank you. And for all our listeners out there that are still with us, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for spending some time with us. Until next time, stay blessed, rock and roll. Have a great day.